Why hello there and welcome to this video. My name is Leah. I'm a new progressive YouTuber and I've been doing Wednesday and Saturday shows where I talk about the big stories, cultural trends, whatever I feel like discussing, all from a progressive point of view so that I can use my political energy for good. Normally I do like a multi-segment show, so I record like multiple segments, edit them, and then upload them the night before, and then, like the day of the show they release, and it's great and wonderful. I'm actually recording this late. This is Wednesday for me, and I'm recording this late because I actually didn't have a lot of time yesterday to do this show, and so today is going to be a little different. I'm just doing one segment. We're just doing this big single segment for this show, and that's all I have for you today. But to be totally honest with you, there's not much else going on other than the big news that we have to cover for this segment. So yeah, if you clicked on the video, then you already know what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Tim Walz, and I'm so excited to be here talking about him because I have a lot to say about this. So we were expecting to hear about the VP pick on Monday, but actually she just really wanted to take an extra day to like kind of think about things, just an extra night to sleep on it, that kind of thing. And when she woke up on Tuesday morning, she made her decision and she called Tim Walz and asked him to be her running mate. When I woke up on Tuesday morning, I saw the news breaking that Tim Walz had been picked, and I was so excited to see it. I was honestly in a little bit of disbelief at first because I was almost like, I had this really bad feeling in my gut. And this really bad feeling comes from the fact that Democrats in recent history, for as long as I can remember, have sort of made really bad governing choices. Like they always make the most bizarre choices ever. It's just extremely rare for the Democratic Party to actually listen to their base and listen to like what the people want. And it seems like we have one of those instances where they have done that. If you don't know anything about Tim Walz, we will be discussing him in this segment, but I am not going to be providing you with like all the information in the world or anything like that. Like I said, I actually don't even have a lot of time to be doing this show today. So like if you want to know more about him, you're probably going to have to do a little more research on your own. I'm sorry to say, I'm just not going to be able to provide everything for you. I don't consider myself a reporter, so like I'm not here to like report all the facts. I'm here to just like talk about my thoughts and feelings on the political climate, the big stories and stuff like that. So as much as I want to try to provide as much detail and facts as possible, I can't really promise that like I'm going to be your one-stop shop for all the information about these people or about the stuff that's going on. But yeah, Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota and he is incredibly popular. He is a fantastic guy. He is like literally the Midwestern dad. To discuss his past a little bit, he was born and raised in a small town in Nebraska. And then at the age of 17, he joined, I think it was the National Guard, and he was in service to this country in uniform for I think about 24 years. He did serve our country for 24 years. So he is a seasoned veteran. I think that his actual official title is Master Sergeant. Other than his service to the country, he also has 12 years in Congress and 20 years as a public school teacher in Minnesota. So his past and what led him into public service is a really wonderful story. I think that it's like he is such an American guy. Like he really has had the American experience, him serving the country for as long as he did, him having such a noble job like teaching. I think that's huge. And then it's just like one thing I want to mention real quick is that he's not rich. This guy is not a massively wealthy dude. As I did hear about this, I don't know if this is true, and it'll probably change once he gets vice presidency because like, he'll be making more money and stuff. But apparently his net worth is like 5 figures, like not 6 digits. Like he's got like 5-figure net worth. I don't know if that's true because like I think wouldn't that include like your assets and stuff like your house and your car and stuff, and if he has a house and a car and stuff like that, then I would find it hard to believe that he doesn't have like a 6-figure net worth. But yeah, he has served multiple terms as the governor of Minnesota, and the stuff that he has done for the state has been like incredible. He has the best track record out of any governor in our entire country. So before we jump into a bunch of his policy positions and talk about like stuff that he has gotten done for Minnesota, one of the things that he's done for Minnesota is pass free school lunches, free breakfast, and free lunch for kids in his state so that they can, eat lunch and have full bellies and stuff. And look at this picture. Look at how happy and like actually joyful these children are and how happy he is. Like this is a genuinely really wholesome moment. And when I saw this picture, I teared up, and it's making me a little emotional right now. It's just like you don't see this kind of stuff in modern politics where politicians out of the kindness of their heart are doing good things for people, and then you get to see this kind of like these grateful moments from like real people who are like actually being affected by these things. Like look at these kids, how happy they are. Beautiful picture. infrastructure. So now I want to talk about his policy positions. This is a tweet from Secular Talk, Kyla Kalinske, and he went ahead and did a lot of research on Tim Walz. And here are some things that he did for Minnesota that I think are incredibly popular. Universal free school meals. I showed you the picture of that, so we already discussed that. Legal weed, carbon-free electricity by 2040. Tax rebates for the working class up to $1,300, making under $150,000 per year. 12 weeks paid family leave, 12 weeks paid sick leave, banned conversion therapy, red flag law for guns, universal background checks for guns, automatic voter registration, free public college under $80,000 a year, ban on PFAS, forever chemicals, $2.2 billion increase in school funding K through 12, sectoral bargaining for nursing home workers. And then here's some more stuff that he did as governor, but also as congressman. Opposed Wall Street bailouts in 2008, voted against outsourcing deals, 100% rating from Planned Parenthood. I don't think it's on this list, but he used to have an A rating from the NRA, and now he has an F rating from the NRA. So he has actually moved positions on gun stuff, and a lot of that has come from like people in his family encouraging him. Like I think his daughter specifically talking to him about these issues has helped move him to the left. Banned non-compete clauses, raised minimum wage for small businesses, raised taxes on multinational corporations, protected gender-affirming care. And this part here, protected gender-affirming care, Minnesota is a sanctuary state for transgender individuals. So if you live in a state like Florida or some other state where it's being legislated, like your lifestyle is being legislated out of existence, then you can move to the state of Minnesota and you will be protected. It is a sanctuary state, which is amazing. Banned medical providers from withholding care over debt. This is going to save lives. There are tons of people in this country who cannot afford medical debt, cannot afford a medical emergency. And if you have a medical emergency, you go into debt, and then let's say that issue resurges or there's something else that happens. If you already have massive amounts of debt, it used to be possible in the state, and this is an issue in our country in general, of having medical care withheld from you, like literally just being told, like, die, I guess, because you're already in debt and you can't afford to get out of that debt to pay even more debt. So this is definitely going to save lives. Protected construction workers from wage theft and massive Minnesota infrastructure bill. Absolutely incredible. If you compare his record to other governors, to anyone else in our country, then he is like top dog. He has done so much. And it's not like he had some massive Democratic majority. I think he did all this stuff with like a 1-seat majority in his state. So like he was able to do this stuff with Republicans and working across the aisle. So now what I want to do for the rest of this segment is I just want to show you his first speech as Kamala Harris's running mate. So she selected him Tuesday, and then they had a rally on Tuesday. So like the second he got selected, he was shipped right out to Kamala Harris's campaign, and they had a big event for me last night in Philly. I watched this whole event. I honestly wish that I could show you the entire speech in this segment, but that would just be way too long. It'd be like over an hour for this one video. So we're gonna watch literally just Governor Tim Walz's speech, and it's incredible. Honestly, I thought this was an incredible speech. I think you're going to love it too, so let's just get right into it. Kamala Harris actually spoke first at this campaign event, which is why she's going to hand it off to Tim Walz, and then he's going to speak. He's going to give his speech. I want you to look at the emotion on Tim Walz's face. It's really easy to read, and I think like seeing how emotional he gets over this just really tugs at my heartstrings. Like this guy cares so much. He is like such a dad figure. He is literally Midwestern dad for the entire country. And I love that. I love that vibe. I love all of it.
And now, welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz.
Look at him. Look at him. Look how excited he is. Look at his face.
Wow.
Oh, he cares so much. Okay, I'll stop talking.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you and Doug, this incredible journey. And Pennsylvania, I know you know this. But my God, what a treasure you have in Josh Shapiro. Holy hell, can this guy bring the fire? He can bring the fire. This is a visionary leader. Also, I have to tell you, everybody in America knows when you need a bridge fixed, call that guy. And I think sometimes we forget, and you see people a little one-dimensional, but seeing a guy who cares so deeply about his family, a man with compassion, vision, and I'll have to tell you this, I know this from experience, there is no one you would rather go to a Springsteen concert in Jersey with than him, than that guy. Roots. And I can't wait for all of you and America to get to know my incredible wife, Gwen, a 29-year public school educator. Don't ever underestimate teachers. And our two beautiful kids, Hope and Gus. I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket and to help Vice President Harris become what we all know is very, very good for us to think about. Next President of the United States of America. From her first day as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, Attorney General of the great state of California, a United States Senator, and Vice President of the United States. Vice President Harris has fought on the side of the American people. She took on the predators, she took on the fraudsters, she took down the transnational gangs, she stood up against powerful corporate interests, and she never hesitated to reach across the aisle if it meant improving people's lives. And I want all of you to hold this, and don't ever underestimate the power of this. She does it all with a sense of joy. I know a little something about that commitment to people. I was born in West Point, Nebraska. I lived in Butte, a small town of 400, where community was a way of life. Growing up, I spent the summers working on the family farm. My mom and dad taught us, show generosity towards your neighbors and work for a common good. My dad served in the Army during the Korean War, and with his encouragement, at 17, I joined the Army National Guard. For 24 years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation. The National Guard gave me purpose. It gave me the strength of a shared commitment to something greater than ourselves. And just as it did for my dad and millions of others, the GI Bill gave me a shot at a college education. My dad was a teacher. My brothers and sisters and I followed in their footsteps. 3 out of 4 of us married teachers. What we do. For nearly 20 years, I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies and coaching football. Including winning that state championship. Thank you. Don't ever close the yearbook. Don't ever. But it was my students. They encouraged me to run for office. They saw in me what I was hoping to instill in them, a commitment of common good, a belief that one person can make a difference. So in 2006, I took a leap and I ran for Congress. And because high school teachers are super optimistic, I was running in a district that had one Democrat since 1892. Well, my neighbors graced me with an opportunity to represent them in the United States House of Representatives. I'm proud of the work we did there together. I worked across the aisle on veterans issues, on agriculture, and on ways to grow rural economies. I learned the art of compromise without compromising my values. And now, as governor of the great state of Minnesota, I bring those experiences to bear in tackling the challenges that are facing our great state. Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol, and now Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House. Now, Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself. Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president. He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. That's not even counting the crimes he committed. You know, some of us are, some of us in here are old enough to remember. I see you down there. I see those old white guys. Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule: mind your own damn business. These guys are after my heart chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look, that includes IVF, and this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach when the phone rang, and the agony when we heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope. When Vice President and I talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make your own health care decisions. And for our children to be free to go to school without worrying they'll be shot dead in their classrooms. By the way, as you heard, I was one of the best shots in Congress, but in Minnesota, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws. Vice President Harris' idea of freedom is a ticket for education to be that ticket to the middle class, not crippling debt. Air that's clean, water that's pure, communities that are safe. A place where we settle our political differences not through violence, but with our votes. And that's what this election's about. What direction will this country go in? He's not going back. Well, Donald Trump would damn sure take us backwards. Let's be clear about that. And don't believe him when he plays dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 will do to restrict our freedoms. To rig the economy to help the super rich. If Trump gets a chance to return, he's going to pick up exactly where he left off 4 years ago. Only this time, it will be much, much worse. Raising costs on middle-class family. He will repeal the Affordable Care Act, no doubt about it. He'll gut Social Security and Medicare. And when somebody tells you are, they believe him. He said he'd ban abortion across this country, and he'll do it, whether or not Congress is there or not. Donald Trump's not fighting for you or your family. He never sat at that kitchen table like the one I grew up at, wondering how we were going to pay the bills. He sat at his country club up in Mar-a-Lago, wondering how he can cut taxes for his rich friends. And I got to tell you, his running mate shares his dangerous and backward agenda for this country. J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So. See what I did there? Look. I got to tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy, and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see. That's what you see. So you know what's out there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. We aren't going back. We are not going back. So we got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead. Over those next 91 days and every day in the White House, I'll have Vice President Harris's back. Every single day. And we'll have yours. You know how this works. We can't do it alone. We need you, each and every one of you. Go over to KamalaHarris.com, get on board, because we need you. Freedom to make our own choices. This leader, this compassionate, careful, joyous leader believes in each and every one of you. My God, you came here tonight to sit at the very top because you love this country and you're not going back. She believes in the opportunity for every single person to join the middle class. She believes in the promise of America. We just got to fight. We just got to fight. Because as soon-to-be President Harris says, when we fight, we win. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Vice President. God bless America.
All right, so we're back. Powerful stuff. Honestly, super powerful stuff there. I got emotional a little bit listening to it for a second time, and I got to admit, last night when I was listening to this speech, I got really emotional in general because it just feels like this guy is so perfect for the campaign. Like, as someone who grew up in the Midwest, he is extremely comfortable to me. Like, I've never really been like a super city person, even though I'm extremely left wing, I'm extremely progressive. I'm not really a city person. I don't really enjoy city life all that much. I'm a very at home kind of like Midwestern kind of person. Like, I don't know. I'm just not exciting. Like, he really does give off those Midwestern dad vibes. And I know I said that before, but I think that for a lot of people that aren't like born and raised in the cities and stuff, people that were born in the Midwest, people that are born in rural areas, people that are born even in suburban areas, like, everyone is going to see him and they're going to be like, I know this guy. This is that guy. This is the dad that cares not just about his own family, but the entire community. So like, he just really comes off as trustworthy. And also like, his track record is incredible. So he's got like the double threat. Like, he is both an incredible speaker. He's really good at what he does on stage, but also in terms of like what he's actually done with legislation, he's great. He's fantastic. So it's just I'm over the moon. I'm over the moon. I can't believe how good this is, and I can't believe how exciting this is. I saw some reporting that the campaign has already raised like $42 million grassroots since the announcement of Walz, and I think that's incredible. I think people are excited even more so about the campaign now that we have this VP pick. And like, I heard a lot of people say this before the VP pick was decided, like the idea of doing no harm for the campaign, because there are a contingency of people who were kind of turned off by like Josh Shapiro and stuff like that. Like, there were people that didn't really like him that much. And what I'm seeing online since Walz has been announced is that people that maybe weren't super on board with him or just maybe didn't know who he was are now jumping on board for him. Like, the way that he is doing these rallies and the message that he's putting forward and his track record and everything, it's like, how can you not be impressed? And this is kind of a small thing that I just wanted to mention because I was watching a rally this morning, but it was in Wisconsin. and it was incredibly hot. Like, it's been really hot across the United States lately. And so Tim Walz was speaking. He was going before Kamala Harris at this event, and someone in front of him in the crowd like fainted or had some sort of medical emergency, maybe heat stroke. We're not really sure. I don't really know exactly what happened, but he stopped his speech for a good 5, maybe almost, I don't want to say 10 minutes, but about 5 minutes or so. He stopped his speech, made sure that the person who was having the medical event got help, got water, got taken over to the medical tent to get treated, to get, make sure that they're okay and stuff. Like, he literally stopped his entire speech and waited until he knew that that person was going to be okay to go back to his speech. That is a guy that cares. He cares so much that he doesn't really mind if he has to like interrupt the flow of his speech, if he has to like mid-sentence stop and like make sure that someone is okay in the crowd of thousands of people. Like, he didn't necessarily have to do that. And I think there are a lot of politicians that would kind of maybe act like they didn't see it, or just kind of move on with things as normal and hope that the person gets taken care of. I'm not saying that other politicians want people to like die in their audience or anything like that. I'm just saying that like it really says something about him that he felt that he had to stop what he was doing to be a part of helping this person, make sure that they were okay and stuff. So there's another huge rally tonight in Detroit, and I'm excited to see what that's like. Apparently it's going to be huge. There's going to be a lot of people there. So I'm excited to see what kind of energy they bring. I really like Tim Walz's speech. If he can just refine his speech a little bit. I mean, there were a couple flubs he made in there, but they were very small flubs. And honestly, I mean, he's new to speaking on a national stage. I'm sure this is a lot of nerves, a lot of anxiety, a lot of excitement for him. And I don't expect him to be perfect. He's already done so much in terms of like public service and stuff like that, that like, the small things like that aren't going to make a big difference. All right, but that's it. That's all I have for you today. This is going to be the only segment, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I wish I had more time to cover more stuff. There are a couple other smaller news stories I could cover, like how the right wing is just having a massive meltdown over this Walz pick. They have no idea how to attack him, because honestly, if you are like a Midwest rural conservative and you look at Tim Walz, it's going to be really hard to find anything that you're kind of like offended about. Most of the attacks I've seen against Tim Walz have just been like his approval of gender affirming care and him making Minnesota like a sanctuary state for transgender individuals. Like, I guess there's some story going around where he's got tampons stocked in bathrooms throughout like the school districts and stuff like that, so that like it doesn't matter which bathroom you use, if you're a trans man, if you're whatever, it doesn't matter. You can have access to period hygiene products. Like some kids have poverty issues and stuff like that, can't have access to those things necessarily super easily, and that can be a matter of safety for people. I mean, it's like, body fluids and stuff like that. It's a health and safety issue. So I think that it is absolutely makes sense for him to have this kind of thing done by the government to ensure that people have access to these things. But yeah, conservatives are attacking him over doing something completely based. So, I mean, go ahead, I guess. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you did, I hope to see you in my next show. I actually probably will not have a Saturday show this week. I have to get laser hair removal tomorrow, so I will look like a complete and total mess for a few days, which includes the night that I record for my video on Friday night. I will still be recovering from the laser hair removal, so I will not have a Saturday show out. So I will instead have a show on Tuesday that will cover kind of everything that I missed essentially in my quote unquote day off on Saturday. I'm also planning to branch out my content a little bit, as well as covering news and politics stuff. I also want to do like trans lifestyle content, talking about transition, talking about my experiences as a transgender individual, and also talking about certain things. Like, I've studied a lot of things centering around identity. I was a philosophy major in high school. I've studied a lot of psychology, mythology, philosophy, all centered around ideas of identity. I've been interested in identity for a long time, so it's something that I would like to talk about as well, but I'm just not really sure how I want to format that content, like the transgender lifestyle content. Like, I'm not really sure what format to do for that kind of stuff, because I've seen what other people do and I could just mimic those formats, but that feels a little bit uninspired and boring. So I'm trying to think on that. If you have any ideas, let me know. But otherwise, just leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of Tim Walz. Are you excited about him being the VP running mate? What do you think? I am curious, very curious. And don't forget to leave a like on this video or subscribe if you're new. I am putting out this content pretty regularly and I would love to have your support. Thank you so much to everyone who's subscribed so far. We are pushing towards 100 subscribers and we are at 36 right now. So we are getting there. Thank you so much for your support. I will see you in the next one. And until then, do me a little itty bitty favor, drink some water.